The dim light from the single flickering bulb overhead cast eerie shadows on the cold, concrete walls. James woke up, his head throbbing and vision blurry. As he tried to move, he felt the heavy weight of metal around his ankle. He looked down to find himself chained to a rusty pipe. Panic set in, and he tugged at the chain, but it was futile. The room was silent, save for the distant dripping of water. Across from James, another figure began to stir. It was Sarah, his colleague from work. She too was chained to a pipe, her face a mix of fear and confusion. "James," she whispered, her voice trembling. "What's happening?" Before James could respond, a television screen on the wall crackled to life. A sinister puppet with a painted face appeared on the screen, its voice cold and mechanical. "Hello, James." "Hello, Sarah. I want to play a game." James' heart raced. He had heard of this before. The Jigsaw Killer. The maniac who forced people to confront their sins through twisted, deadly games. "In front of you," the puppet continued, "are 2 saws, one for each of you. The keys to your chains are inside your respective saws. To retrieve them, you must reach into the blade and pull them out." Sarah let out a sob, shaking her head. "No, no, please." "There is another way," the puppet said, its tone almost mocking. "One of you can choose to cut off your own foot to escape. The choice is yours. You have 30 minutes. Live or die, make your choice." The screen went black, leaving them in oppressive silence once more. James and Sarah exchanged desperate looks. Time was ticking. "I can't do this," Sarah cried. "I can't." James closed his eyes, trying to think. There had to be another way. But the pain in his ankle, the cold of the metal, and the fear gnawed at his resolve. Minutes passed, each second more excruciating than the last. James' mind raced with memories of his family, his mistakes, his regrets. Desperation clawed at him. Finally, with trembling hands, James reached for the saw. He couldn't bring himself to look at Sarah, couldn't bear the thought of what he was about to do. The blade felt cold and unforgiving in his grip. "James," no, Sarah screamed, but it was too late. With a cry of agony, James brought the saw down on his ankle. The pain was unlike anything he had ever felt. He sawed through flesh and bone, his vision blurring with tears. Blood pooled around him, and he felt himself growing faint. As the last bit of flesh gave way, James collapsed to the floor, gasping for breath. He fumbled with the key, his fingers slick with blood, and finally freed himself from the chain. With his last ounce of strength, he crawled towards Sarah, but as he reached out to her, his vision darkened and he lost consciousness. When he awoke, he was in a hospital bed, his leg heavily bandaged. A police officer stood nearby, watching him. "You're lucky to be alive," the officer said. "We found you just in time, but I'm afraid Sarah didn't make it." James closed his eyes, tears streaming down his face. He had survived the game, but the cost was more than he could bear. In the end, the Jigsaw Killer's words echoed in his mind: "Live or die, make your choice." And James would have to live with the consequences of his choice for the rest of his life.